Hey, great to see you. As Scott said, we're wrapping up this series that we've been in pretty much all summer long called Field Notes. But before we jump in, I want to say next weekend we're beginning a brand new series called God on Film. And I think like summertime is always like a big movie time. Used to be like everyone went to the theater a whole lot during the summer for these blockbuster movies that they would come out with. But so this August, as we're still in the summer, though kids are going back to school, and how many are not a fan of that? I don't know. They're going back to school, but we're going to be talking about some of the movies that have been in theaters. We're going to take part of the storyline, the plot, the struggle that we can all relate to in some of these movies, and then we're going to open up the Bible and see what God has to say about that. And we're going to give away movie tickets. Check this out. We're going to give away movie tickets, lots and lots of movie tickets to all first-time guests and the friends who bring them all series long. So if you play your cards right, you can get movie tickets every single weekend. And by the way, if you're our guest here today and you're like, well, I'm the first-time guest today. That means if I come back next week, I will give you a movie ticket too. So we just want you to hey, let's bring some friends. Let's grab some people. Let's bring them along. We've got some cards that are sitting around you for you to take with you, just to remind you, stick somewhere, put it in your purse, maybe hand that to a friend. Say, hey, come along. It is going to be great. And we're kicking the series off with a barbecue. We're calling it our end of summer sizzle because the summer isn't over yet, even though kids are going back to school. So we want to end the summer really well. We got a barbecue, and your friends will eat free, so bring your friends, barbecue, friends eat free, and we got a bunch of fun stuff for kids and youth too, so it's just going to be a great weekend to kind of kick off back to school, but also still the end of summer, and I hope you come back, and I really hope you'll bring somebody with you because it is a great series to invite some friends and go, hey, I want you to connect with this. I think you'll love it. I think it'll be good for you. So that's next weekend, but today is the finale of this series called Field Notes. The subtitle is Vital Information for Your Journey of Faith. And this has been a series about some of the things we think are just the most absolutely essential, most important ideas or practices that God followers need to know and need to get in the rhythms of their lives for a healthy journey of faith. And today I want to end this series with something really personal. In fact, I feel like a lot of the things I've talked about are very personal for me, with a topic that has shaped my spiritual journey, my sense of what it means to be a follower of Jesus, what it means for me to be legit, like my life is a legit reflection of what it means to follow Jesus for over 40 years. Now, many of you probably wouldn't know this. I don't think I've ever talked about it before. My first job at a church was as a janitor. We called it a maintenance. I was a maintenance man. We had a maintenance staff. It was a kind of a large facility in Florida. And my job was cleaning toilets, mopping floors, vacuuming floors, repairing stuff that broke, setting up and cleaning up after functions, always the last one there, the one carrying out the trash after everybody else has gone off to do the things that they're going to do. And my bent was always, as a follower of Jesus, to do that with the same excellence and integrity that the person delivering the message on Sunday morning would bring to that same thing. I just wanted to bring that to the dirty stuff of life. And I learned something in those years. Those years influenced me deeply, that shaped my journey ever since. And it has become, quite honestly, this inextricable, like inseparable part of just who I am. And the idea is this, that to follow Jesus is to become the servant of all. To follow Jesus is to become the servant of all and to see myself in that light. Now, to get at this, I want to take a look at two scenes from Jesus that leave this without question or debate. And both of them, by the way, happen in the final month or so, the final weeks of Jesus' life. The first of these two scenes takes place on their way to Jerusalem, where he already knows and has told them he will be crucified. And Jesus has told his followers on more than one occasion by this point exactly what's going to happen to him when they get there. And they all know that the high priest, that the powerful political and religious elite in Jerusalem are looking for Jesus, wanting to kill him. And yet Jesus is brazenly headed towards this showdown. And Mark, in Mark's biography of Jesus' life, tells us, so they were on their way to Jerusalem with Jesus leading the way. Like he's out in front, he's setting the pace, and the disciples were kind of astonished, and those who were following were frankly a little bit afraid as Jesus is walking ahead. He's so determined, he's so brazen, and it's kind of confusing them and freaking them out a little bit, And so again, he took the 12 aside and he told them what exactly was going to happen to him when they got there. This is the third time, by the way, in Mark's biography of Jesus that Jesus has explained this, and it's so graphic and it's so explicit. He says, hey, we are going up to Jerusalem, where the Son of Man, which is a title that Jesus took out of the great prophet Daniel, this great heroic figure in Daniel chapter 7 who arrives at the throne of God and receives power over all the nations. And this is a title that Jesus often uses, only Jesus mashes this up with these scenes from the ancient prophet Isaiah describing one who would suffer greatly. And he says, the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests, to the teachers of the law, and they will condemn him to death. And they will hand him over to the nations, which is exactly the opposite of what happens to the Son of Man in Daniel, who will mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him, and 3 days later he will rise. And then Jesus turns and heads south to Jerusalem. And that's when Mark tells us, the irony of this. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who Jesus had a nickname for them. He called them the sons of thunder, just to give you a vibe for these guys and what they were like. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, they catch up with Jesus alone, maybe pull him to the side. Hey, Jesus, teacher, we want to ask you something to say. Teacher, we want you to do for us, I love this, whatever we ask. It just takes me back to being a parent of like younger kids. And I don't know if your kids ever did this to you. Like they come up to you and they're like, hey, Dad, we want to ask you something. Just say yes, okay? and so they come up to Jesus. Hey, Jesus, too bad about that whole spitting, mocking, flogging, dying part. That doesn't sound great, but we've got a favor for you, and we want you to say yes, okay? And so Jesus says what I would say to my kids, well, what do you want me to do for you? And they replied, grant that one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in these places of great honor and authority and position in your glory. When we get to Jerusalem and you set up your kingdom, and I don't know what that whole other thing you keep talking about is really all about, but when you kick the Romans out and you're in your glory, that's going to be amazing. We're thinking that maybe we could be like VP Secretary of State. That's what we were thinking, that would be great, on top of everybody else. 3 years they've been following Jesus. But like us, honestly, they're just so conditioned and so socialized into upside down world that they can't get out of that. They can't see that it's all messed up. It's all upside down. And Jesus just shakes his head. He's so patient, which is really good news for us. And he says, yeah, you don't know what you're asking. You don't get it. Well, a few moments later, the 10, the others, they heard about this, and they're really ticked off. I mean, they are very offended, very indignant at James and John. But understand, they're not like offended by James and John's like insensitivity. Like, guys, you were just so tone deaf. Didn't you hear what Jesus was just saying? And now you're coming out with, no, they're tweaked because they got beat to the punch. Like James and John called shotgun before they got to the parking lot. It's like, oh, no, we're still inside. Like you can't get, like, who do you think you are? So once again, Jesus calls them all together and he sits them down and he says, hey, let's go over this one more time before we get to Jerusalem. You know, he says, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the nations lord it over them, how their high officials exercise authority over them. Hey, you know how it is. You know how it is in upside down world with power and money and position and influence and status, and how people who have it, they power up, they bow up, they leverage it for their own benefit. They have a way, maybe a very subtle way of just kind of placing themselves over and above other people. You know how power and influence works here in upside down world, to which they're like, yeah, totally. That's why we want to be number 1 and 2. I mean, it's awesome. Of course, we know that. And then Jesus pauses and he looks them right in the eyes and he leans into them and he leans into us. And he says, not so with you. Not so with you. That is not how my kingdom operates. That's not how my right side up kingdom operates. I'm not that kind of king, and the people who follow me are not that sort of people. And once again, as always with Jesus, everything's opposite. Instead, he says, whoever wants to be great, you want to be great? That's great. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be great. I just want you to know you're doing it all wrong. You've got it all backwards. You're upside down and you don't see it. If you want to be great, you must become the servant. And whoever wants to be first, well, they must become the slave of all. The one at the very bottom, doing for others, serving others, pushing them up, blessing them. How am I going to help you today, the one who is the slave of all? For even the Son of Man, and here again we have this heroic figure from Daniel 7, did not come to be served, but to serve, and in fact, to give his life as a ransom for many. That's what greatness looks like. That's Jesus in his glory, on the cross, turning power on its head, giving his life to redeem everybody else. Any questions? James, John, you still in? You still good? Peter, you still with me? Let's go to Jerusalem. Fast forward a couple weeks. They've already entered the city a few days earlier. Incredible fanfare, all of them, and the crowd. Jesus had become so popular by this point, are certain that he's the Messiah. He's about to restore their nation. And John, in his biography, tells us it was just before the Passover festival, which was their Independence Day, only it was a week-long festival. It was huge. It was like Lollapalooza, Burning Man, something like that. This national celebration of liberation. What no one knew is that they were on the eve of a whole new Independence Day. But John tells us Jesus knew. Jesus knew. He knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. And John begins this next scene with the timing of the story. Like Jesus knew, he knew when it was. Not what time it was, not the hour of the day, not the time of day, but the time of life. We talk often around here about the seasonality of life. Like you are in a time, you are in an hour. Like, do you know what time it is? Do you know what this season is for you? Do you know what this season is for? What the hour is? Jesus knew the moment, and he knew what the moment was for. And then John says, I love this line, having already just loved his own who were in the world, he now wanted to show them the full extent of his love. And John, looking back on the scene years later, he can now see so clearly that whatever else that night was about, and it was about a lot of things, it was about love. Whatever else it was all about love, and Jesus showing them what love actually looks like, what love actually does. The evening meal was in progress, which, by the way, looked nothing like Da Vinci's famous painting, like them all posing on one side of the table, like and the servers taking the picture. It looked nothing like that. In fact, they're reclining at these low-lying tables, which should often be shaped in a U, their feet pointing out, their heads at the table, which, just as a side note, I think is an awesome way to eat. I think like laying down on a cushion with your head right at the table, just shoveling the wings and the chips just right in there. I think that's awesome. So that's the way they ate. I think maybe we need to bring that back. I don't know. So they're all reclining at this table. The meal is already in progress. And then John says this foreboding tone, and the devil, the diabolos, had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. And this is John's way of foreshadowing in the story that there is a great darkness. There is a great evil that's lurking in this story about to pounce. Something terrible is about to happen. It's already been set in motion, and Jesus knows it. But he wasn't frightened. He wasn't frightened. He wasn't anxious. He wasn't confused. I don't understand why God is letting this happen. I don't know what's going on. Instead, John tells us, Jesus knew, and that's the second time in the story he's used that phrase. Jesus knew, get this, that the Father had placed all things under his power. That's a heady statement. He knew that the Father had placed all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. He knew who he was. He knew where he came from. He knew where he was going. He knew that, which raises the question, what do you do when you have all the power? What do you do when you have all the power in a relationship? When you've got all the cards, when you've got all the leverage, you ever find yourself in a situation where you realize the other person knows they're one down and they know you're one up? What do you do? What do you do when you have that kind of leverage? What would Jesus do with that knowledge? So, John says, here's what he showed them the full extent of his love. Here's how. Now, to appreciate what happens next, there's something you need to know about ancient life. It was dirty. It was really, really dirty. Like everything is always dirty. It's always dirty. The streets are dirty. The cities are filthy dirty. Everybody walks everywhere they go, either barefoot or wearing sandals. And by the way, so do the animals. Fast that, forward that. And so their feet are dirty. And so it was very customary, hospitality-wise, that when you entered someone's home, you would kick off your shoes, and some of you do that in your home, and then someone right there at the door would wash your feet. It was just a customary hospitality. It was considered an expected courtesy, but it's also considered disgusting. And so it was very humble. It was very lowly. Only the lowest status person in the house would do it, like the lowest slave or the lowest servant, or if you didn't have any slaves or servants, the youngest kid, because, by the way, kids weren't precious and elevated. They were just weak little people, and they were the lowest on the... So that's who washes the feet. Whoever the lowest person is in the home, that's who washes the feet. And so you got that. This night, the disciples are filling into this room, and their eyes are adjusting to the light, and right there at the door is this basin and water conspicuously set before them, and they kick off their sandals, but there's no one there to wash their feet. It's like, was somebody supposed to arrange for this? Was I supposed to do that? Did I miss something on my punch list? Like, this is awkward, and each of these young men is faced with a choice, a moment of decision that you and I are faced with dozens of times every day. Will I? Will I? Will I do the thing that's in front of me? Will I act selflessly in this moment? Will I jump in and do the dishes as the meal is over? Will I jump up? Will I change the diaper when the kid is crying? Am I going to say, hey, I'll do that. I'll catch that. Will I pitch in and help? Will I stoop down and do this disgusting, menial chore for my peers? And each one of them says, nope. Not me, not me. So that's someone else. Someone else should do that. Peter, he's always like, thinking he's something. Thomas, well, I doubt it. Bartholomew, John, he's always going on about how loved he is. He should do this. Like somebody else should do this. And each one of them makes that choice. and files past the basin of water, takes their place at the table, smiling like nothing's wrong, with dirty feet kicked out towards the perimeter. Now, side note, in another one of Jesus' biographies, written by the historian Luke, he adds this little detail that they're still arguing about who's the most important of them, maybe because of the feet thing, I don't know. Who's got the most status? And Jesus loves them. He loves them. Right then and there, as thick and obtuse and slow as they are, and by the way, that's really good news. And he wants to show them, get this, he wants to show them love. He actually wants to show them love, what love looks like, what life really looks like. And so he pushes himself up from the table. Picture this scene. He strips off his outer garments and he wraps a towel around his waist. In other words, now he looks like a slave. He looks like a slave. It is intentional. It is purposeful. He adopts the appearance. He does the very thing that he talks about doing, which he always does. He walks through the doorway past the pile of sandals, pours some water in the basin, sets the bowl down next to the first of the disciples, and begins to wash his feet. Not out of frustration, not out of self-pity. Well, nobody else is going to do it, so I guess I'm going to do it because I always have to do it because nobody does, which is how my scripts go. By the way, I have that like victim mentality thing, that self-pity deal. Not out of passive aggression. I'm going to do this for you, and by the time I'm going to do this for you, you are going to feel so bad. You are going to feel so bad about what you have done, but I'm going to do it for you. He does it out of love. He's showing them the full extent of his love. And we can probably appreciate maybe a little bit how humbling that might have been. But Jesus seems to have like no ego issues. He's so comfortable in his own skin. It's amazing. What we probably can't appreciate is how incredibly awkward it felt to everybody else, because theirs was a society that was finely tuned, like highly tuned to status and proper societal roles and the social ladder and where everyone belonged and staying in your lane. Theirs was an honor-shame society, and a person's honor is very tied to staying in your lane and playing your role and doing it with integrity, and shame is attached to getting out of your lane, seeking, and the whole society revolves around seeking the most honor in a moment and avoiding shame at all costs. And Jesus, who on their ladder is clearly up there, like he's above them, he's humiliating himself. Like he climbs down the ladder below them into the dirt that they don't even want to touch, and they are experiencing shame for him. Like, I don't know if you've ever been embarrassed for somebody, like somebody's doing something and like you don't want to look, but you can't turn away. It's like, and your skin is crawling. It's like, oh, that is so awkward. I can't believe they're doing that. I feel embarrassed for you. And they're feeling that way. Well, Jesus gets to Peter, and Peter just can't handle it. And Peter's often the mouth of the group. And he says, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? His skin is crawling. It's just too much for him. And Jesus smiles and states the obvious. Yeah, you don't get it right now, Peter. You really don't realize, which is the same thing he said to James and John. And he probably thinks that about us, let's be honest, all the time. Like, you're not really getting it. You don't see, but trust me. Trust me. Let me do this for you. Later you will understand. And Peter can't. He just can't. It's too much for him. Never, he says. No. You cannot wash my feet. And that's when Jesus' tone changes a little bit. He comes off at this point a little strong. And it's our first clue that there's actually more going on in this scene than it appears. Unless I wash you, Peter, you have no part of me. Wait, what? Like suddenly this exercise has become some kind of deal breaker. And so Peter, true to form, overreacts. Well then, Lord, not just my feet, my head and my hands as well. And he's like, now Peter's in full bath mode. And I love Peter because he's enthusiastic. He's like peeling off his shirt, and Jesus has to calm him down, like, Peter, keep your pants on. They didn't wear pants, but like, keep your robe on. Like, it's okay, Peter. And Jesus, this is so powerful. He says, those who've had a bath, they need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. Like, wait, what? Now, on the one hand, this was literally true. But on another hand, figuratively speaking, they would have all just gone before the meal just gone through, excuse me, a ceremonial cleaning at the mikvot in the temple, these ceremonial spiritual cleansing baths before that meal. And so they all really readily understood this metaphor of spiritual cleansing. And so now it becomes clear that this is more than just feet. There's something spiritual going on in this exercise. As often, especially in John's biography of Jesus, there's like these layers of meaning. And the idea is this: as we go through life, we get dirty. We just do. You can call it sin, but if you don't really like that word or feel that word is weird, you can call it dysfunction, character defects, addiction, habits, father wounds, genetics, epigenetics, culture, media, other people. But it gets all over us. It just gets all over us, and it soils our hearts. And you know this to be true. It soils our thoughts, our thinking, our minds, our attitudes that we bring with us, our moods. And because we're soiled, we soil others. Our dirt gets on them, on everything around us, even the people we love. We are soiled. We soil everything. So what is it that we need? And Jesus' answer is, well, we need a bath. We need a bath, but is there such a thing like for our souls? Like, does that even exist? Can that part of us, the inner self, get cleansed? A bath for my thoughts and my struggles and my dysfunctions and my darkness. And Jesus says, if I don't wash you, you have no part of me. And Jesus is talking about this large scale, like life encompassing, once and for all cleansing of our souls and our hearts and our minds and our pasts and our regrets, like us coming clean with God, wide open, all over, opening my life without reservation to being cleansed, to being washed. And baptism is actually a picture of this. In fact, next month, we are having a baptism, and maybe that's the next step in your spiritual journey. Maybe that's your next step to truly come clean with God, to be wide open for that in full surrender and openness. And if that's where you're at, we would love to be a part of that with you. Just write baptism on your Connect card, or maybe if you got questions about that, like, I'd like to understand more, baptism with a question mark or something. I will get back to you this week, I promise. But according to Jesus, we all need this. Like, if we are going to be a part of this new community that he's forming, we can't just drag our dirt into it with us. So, back to our story. Peter sits back down and Jesus washes his feet. And then he continues around the table, one by one, washing their feet, all of their feet, including Judas's feet, and he's smiling. And he's happy to do it. There's no passive-aggressive weirdness like, oh man, that was just so awkward. I feel bad for Jesus, and he kind of made us feel a little bad for him, right? Just love. Just love. And this takes time. I mean, this is going on for a while. Time enough for them to settle down. Time enough for it to settle in, to get through the awkward resistance, to let Jesus do this for them, to let Jesus love them like this. And finally, and maybe not a moment too soon, he had finished. He had finished washing their feet. He puts the basin back, puts his clothes back on, returns to his place at the table, and now he's their rabbi again. And it's time to connect the dots. Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you understand? Do you understand what I've done for you? For years, I've been modeling and teaching this upside down, ego-free approach to true greatness and what true greatness does for others. Do you get it? Do you get it? And we could ask ourselves the same thing. We just heard the story. Do I get it? Do I get it? Do I understand this? He goes on, you call me teacher and Lord? And rightly so. That's exactly what I am, but I am a servant teacher. I am a servant teacher, a servant Lord. I am a foot washing, diaper changing, trash emptying, chair setting, meal delivering, dish washing, apron wearing, broom pushing, on the floor with a towel. Servant teacher and servant Lord. That's me. That's me. It's who I am. And that's what it means to follow me. I have set you an example that you should do what I have done for you. Followers of Jesus are servants who follow a servant. Followers of Jesus, you might say, are servants who follow the servant. And it's not a coincidence that we landed on this topic on the weekend that we're beginning our fall volunteer signups for the next 6 months, the fall winter season, because that's not only just a part of our vision and our core values of what it means to be a community together, to share life together, to be a healthy church in this together, but I believe, listen, to my toes, that is an essential part of actually following Jesus, of learning what it means to follow Jesus, that you can't follow Jesus if you can't or don't or won't adopt the posture, the mindset, the identity of a servant. I'm a servant. I'm a servant. I'm not here to be served. I'm here to serve. I have set you an example, Jesus says, that you, because you follow me, should do as I have done for you. Very truly, I say, no servant is greater than his master. Now he's using their language, right? That's what they keep talking about, like who's greater, who's greater. You're so concerned with status and greater and being greater in importance, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent them. In other words, since it is impossible for you to be above me on the org chart, to which they all would have said, yep, that's true. Yeah, you're above us on the org chart for sure. And since I have now placed myself at the bottom of the org chart as the lowest servant of them all, your position on the org chart is now clear. In the dirt, on the floor, with me. And if you're not into that, if you're not really into that, if you're not into serving, if you don't do feet, I don't do feet, I don't do that sort of thing, that's just not me, I am probably the wrong leader for you. You probably won't fit well in following me. Now that you know that, you'll be blessed if you do it. You'll be blessed. Now that word blessed, the word Jesus uses is a word that can be translated like happy or fortunate or in the position of favor. It's the blessed life. It's the good life. Fortunate and happy are you. Like you will be so blessed if you live your life this way. And it is true. That's actually really true. It's counterintuitive as it seems. Like, no, I'll be happier if I do me and if I take care of me. It is like verifiably true what Jesus, the statistics on volunteering and happiness and well-being, they're just through the roof. Both spontaneous serving, like in the moment, hey, how can I do this? And like planned habitual rhythms and commitments that I have built into my life, I volunteer, I help, I serve. The statistics on the connection between volunteering and serving and being a truly happy person with emotional well-being are just, the correlation is just through the roof. Call it the best kept secret of happiness. Except it's not actually a secret. It is well documented and frequently discussed. You cannot buy a book. It's certainly not a secular book and probably not a religious book either on psychological well-being and happiness and not see at least one chapter, if not more than one, on this topic packed with research. It is blessed to serve others. You'll be blessed if you do it. Listen, truly happy people, it turns out, are people who do things that make other people happy. The happiest people in the world, the best off people in the world are the people who are regularly doing for others, spontaneously in the moment. Sure, I can do that. And in this premeditated sign, like volunteering, regular rhythm of life. But Jesus doesn't just tie serving others with well-being and being blessed. He ties it to greatness. He ties it to greatness, to true greatness, that truly great people are people who do things to make other people great. And here's what you already know. Like, you already know this. The people that you think of as being truly great, like, they are just such a great person. I don't know what like, they are such a great person. When you think about them, they are people who do for others. In fact, they're people who've probably done for you. They've done things for you, and they went out of their way, and you're like, you didn't need to do that. I mean, why? I don't understand. Like, you didn't need to do that, to which they probably said, oh, I was happy to. I was happy to do that. Of course. They're the people who serve. They're the people who are pushing others up, who are making other people happy or doing for others. People who seem unimpeded by all of the ego nonsense and the insecurity, who don't have to be important, even if they are. And their line is just like, well, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. Truly happy people are people who do things that make other people happy. That's just science. And truly great people, we know this, are the people who do things that make other people great. And that's true. That's true And that's vital information, whether you call yourself a Christian or a follower of Jesus or not. But if you do call yourself a follower of Jesus, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, if the measure of your journey of faith is Jesus himself, this is the way of Jesus. There is no other way, and he could not have made it clearer. Followers of Jesus are servants who follow a servant. Followers of Jesus are servants who follow the, capital T, capital S, servant. Their mantra is, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. I'm not here to be noticed. I'm not here for me. I'm not here to be helped, though there is a time for that. I'm not here to be encouraged, though there is a time for that. I'm not here to be propped up, to be important. I'm not here to be served. I'm here to help. I'm just here to help. In my marriage, with my spouse, I'm here to help. What would it look like for you to, if you're married, for you to begin to see your role in that relationship in such a light? Hey, I'm here to help. How can I help? In my friendships, with my roommate, in my home life, with my family, my extended family, how can I help? I'm here to help. How can I help? What can I do to help? In my workplace, regardless of title or position or org chart, the boss or the janitor, none of that means anything. Chief cook and bottle washer. Like, there is no place for authority, or not an authority, but importance and status kind of leveraging within the community of faith. I'm here to help. What can I do out in our community with total strangers, at the grocery store, at the coffee shop? How can I help? How can I help? I'm here to help. Excuse me. Sometimes in ways that are unique to me, like my gifts and my experience is like, I have some unique position on that. I can really bring, sometimes it's just in ways that are common to all. Like, hey, I can stack chairs. I can push a broom. I can pick up a piece of paper on my way in. I saw that. I can pick that up. I can push the grocery cart back to the store. That's just common to all of us. We can do that. I can pass out programs. I can play with preschoolers. I can do crafts with kindergartners. I can make the coffee. I can pick up the donuts. I can do that. That's just common to all. Followers of Jesus are servants who follow the servant, which raises a question as we wrap up. Are you a servant? Are you? It's like, am I? And I've given you, if you're following along in your program, there's a little scale for you just to like self-diagnose. Like on the one end of the scale is like, yeah, kind of rarely. Usually when something comes up to get my hands dirty, it's like, hey, I've had a busy day. I'm getting my video game on. Like I just need to, that's what I need to do right now. Somebody else needs to do that. Maybe you would go, 50-50. Like sometimes you do, but about as often I don't. Or would you just like always? Like, are you the first person to grab the towel in the basin, or are you going to be the last? You kind of know what you are, right? Do you jump at the chance when you see it, or do you kind of tell yourself, that's going to be somebody else's problem? Like that's going to be someone else's job. Do you pitch in? Do you ask, hey, how can I help? Or are you usually thinking more about like what you need right now and how your day has been and what you've got going on? To follow Jesus is to become a servant who's following a servant. That's our posture. That's our mindset. That's our identity on the floor with a towel. So this week's Field Note Challenge as we end. I've got a challenge for you this week. And here's my challenge for you. Try to do this. Try going through your day and asking, maybe out loud to the person or to the people, or maybe just inside your own head internally, how can I help? Hey, how can I help? I'm here to help. Ask it prayerfully. In conversation with God throughout your day, God, can you show me opportunities to help? How can I help? How can I help? Ask it at home. Ask it as you're walking in the door. Ask it as you're walking out the door. How can I help? Ask it in public. Ask it at work. Ask it with your family, your roommates, your friends. Ask it internally, probably with total strangers. How can I help in this moment? How can I help? I'm here to help. What could I do in this moment that would help? Nothing is beneath me. I do feet. There's nothing beneath me. My ego, my importance are not threatened because I know who I am and I know where I'm going. How can I help? Ask it all week long. Ask it all week long, and then here's the catch. When you see the opportunity, when something comes to mind, as crazy as you think it is, do it. Actually do it. Jump on it. You'll be blessed if you do. Followers of Jesus are servants who follow a servant. And that's vital information for your journey of faith. Let me close this in prayer. Heavenly Father, as I'm always thinking and praying as we talk about these things, and as I'm praying for us as a community, would you please give us the ears to hear and the eyes to see? Because very obviously, your followers follow you and don't get it. Like, that's clear. And we would probably put ourselves in that category often enough. Would you please give us ears to hear what we needed to hear and eyes to see what we needed to see, including the grace we need to be honest with ourselves, but not all leveraged up in shame and junk. The grace to see ourselves and be honest with ourselves. The grace to come clean with you, the courage to do so. And then would you give us the guidance we need as we head into this week, asking, hey, how can I help? How can I help? What can I do here? I am a servant who follows a servant. How can I help? I'm not here to be served, but to serve. Father, I pray that you give us the spiritual insight we need through the week, that the power, the grace we need through the week to do just that. And as we do, we just pray that you would shape our character, our inner selves to become more and more like you. And we pray that in Jesus' name. Amen.